Hi there, I'm ISK, Starcast, Starcraft, and this is a well, it's a tutorial for a number of things. It's essentially a micro video, that is micromanagement, so control of your units, as opposed to macro, which is of course your production buildings, your producing of units, your economy side of things, whereas micro is essentially unit control. Okay, so I'm going to be starting off with a quick blink micro tutorial is all. So I have these stalkers here. I have done one of these tutorials before, however I thought it would be nice to wrap everything up in one video. I have a group of stalkers here, I have a group of roaches and lings over here. We're going to watch what happens when we just allow them to attack each other. Okay, so we can see that the lings surround these stalkers, the roaches pretty much come on the stalkers, while the lings sort of tank the damage. It's a really, really effective strat. And I'll also get on to a bit more about that later. Okay, so we can see that the blink stalker force pretty much gets crushed, or the stalker forces. I wasn't actually blinking. Okay, so now we're going to do a quick blink tutorial. Okay, so the idea when you're blinking, you can do offensive blinks, like into the enemy, or you can use blink more defensively if we spread these troops out a bit more. So say your enemy is attacking into you. The idea is to get the ones that are more injured at the front, attack these against each other, and we'll blink them back to let their shields regenerate. Ideally, the time you want to blink your stalkers back is as soon as that shield goes. Okay, so yeah, we reset the scenario again. So we're on full health. So the idea is if you're attacking into someone, then you blink these guys back first, these guys back, and basically whatever's on low health. And that will allow the ones at the back with their shields to regenerate. And this especially applies, which is why I've chosen a very ling heavy army, against speed ling compositions, especially against Zerg. So if we just leap right in, then I'll show you some blink micro in action.
It shall be as you say.
Okay, and there we go. 7 minutes remaining. I said 10 because I got 10 a few times before when practicing this. Anyway, so that pretty much concludes the blink portion of this tutorial. Okay, so this part of the tutorial is going to be about flanking. Essentially, flanking is where you have an enemy squadron coming in, or enemy units coming in, and you get some of your troops pre-prepared, like in a position up here maybe, or down here, and then you can come in and swarm in from lots and lots of different angles, down here, down here, down here, to surround your enemy and basically bash them up. Okay, so we're going to see what happens between this Roachling army, which is an army that maybe typically try to defend against this kind of tech from Protoss. Okay, so we're going to see what happens when we just attack these units against each other.
Very well.
The lings pretty much act as a tank for the roaches to come in and start making a concave on the enemy units. As you can see, I'm not microing either side at the moment. I'm just having them to attack into each other. You can see that as it stands, the Protoss force, backed up by the Immortals, does win. Not by a huge amount, but by a tiny bit, and it did win. So we're going to try that again. Same scenario, however, now we're going to do it with flanking. So we'll get this, attack into the middle. What's really important is you have to do this before the battle. As a Zerg especially, you'll have the Xel'Naga watchtowers and you'll see that the enemy's coming in. Okay, so we're in a nice position to come in and to flank our enemy. We've got our units spread out plenty. Okay, so we're going to have our enemy coming in, our base is over here, he's going to attack our base. then we swarm in with all the units at once. And you can see that he's just completely surrounded from the off. This is exactly the same units as before. It's just that the roaches have a massive concave from the start. They got completely surrounded by lings, and there's absolutely no competition there at all. Okay, and that's that. So this part of the tutorial is just going to be a word on spreading your units and how important it is to have a good position before going into battle. Spreading also gives you a kind of concave, and yeah, as with the flanking, that means that more of your units can attack, and when you have us around, it just makes everything go better in the battle. Okay, so what I'm going to do first of all, I'm just going to show you what happens when these 4 tanks are put against these 6 zealots, which of course is the same food count. So I'll just have the zealots clump together, and I'll just take them. Okay. So when they're all clumped up like this, we can see that the splash damage quickly dispatches many of the zealots. I apologise for the lag, but we can see that it quickly dispatches many of the zealots. 3 tanks are left. Absolutely no zealots are left. Although they did do a decent amount of damage, taking out that 1 tank and most of this second. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to siege these tanks up again. However, I'm going to spread these zealots out, and I'll show you how you should spread them. You should have a nice spread like this. You should actually be quite a wide spread, as wide as you can make it, depending on the situation. That looks about ideal to me. So we'll move these guys into these guys, and we'll see how it goes differently. You can see, first of all, we have 3 zealots left attacking, which is much more than last time. You can also see how fast they take out the tanks when they're actually able to get close. And now this tank couldn't even fire. When zealots get too close to tanks, then they can't fire. Okay, so that pretty much concludes that part of the demonstration. Okay, so in this part of the tutorial, I'm going to be showing you just a quick part about focus firing. It is very basic micro. However, I think focus firing and also pulling units back are really fundamental types of micro that a lot of people don't maybe appreciate enough. Okay, so first of all, what I'm going to do, as I've done with the previous demonstrations, is I'm just going to attack these into each other with no micro whatsoever. So let's do that now and have a look at the results. Okay, so far we can see they've traded pretty much evenly with some luck. Red seems to have come out on top. This won't be the case every time. You can see that they are very close. I've tried this quite a few times now, and they keep, in fact, they almost keep alternating who wins. Okay, so there's not really any determining factors there. So. This time I'm going to be using my red stalkers against these evil blue stalkers, and I'm going to be focus firing them down. That is, I'm going to be, if I get these guys, I'm going to be A-clicking one, holding shift, A-clicking another, holding shift, A-clicking another, holding shift, A-clicking another, holding shift, and A-clicking another. That's my preferred way of focus firing. If you wanted to, reset the board, you could always just do it with right clicking. So you right click one, then shift right click the rest. I just prefer to use A click because that's how I've learned to use it. Okay. And we can see that with focus firing and no other micro apart from focus firing, we actually do extremely well against our opponent. We have 3 stalkers remaining when they have none, and it will win every single time with focus firing. Okay, so now I'm just going to show you a bit of pull micro. So pull micro is essentially the same thing as blink micro, but when you don't have blink research, and you can do it with any unit. So you will be attacking into someone, and you'll just pull back ones with injured units, and then we'll start attacking again, because that'll make the enemy deselect this for attack. It'll be attacking your ones with lots of health, then you can bring back this back in. You haven't lost it, so it's still going to be dealing damage, and it'll give you an advantage over your opponent. Okay, so also utilizing spread, I'm going to attack these into each other.
Very wise.
And I'll use just pull micro, no focus firing, to make sure that I come out on top. And I'll just use pull micro to ensure that I hopefully win. Oh god, I'm so clumsy. Oh, that was close, but that was much better. Okay. And that concludes this part of the tutorial. Okay, so in this part of the tutorial, I'm just going to show you a tiny bit of Terran micro. It's going to be a stutter-step micro. In this case, it's going to be these ravines against these zerglings. What I'm going to show you is just me doing something called stutter-step micro, where you let them attack for a tiny bit and then you run away. So you A move, you run away, you A move, you run away, A move, run away. There are a few different ways of doing this. So it's move, attack, move, move, attack, move. You could also do something called I'll also do something where you do move command and then you stop. So you press S. So you move, then S, move, S, move, S, move, S. And when you press S, they'll turn around to fire at any enemies in the vicinity. So that's another way of doing it. Some people prefer that way. I actually prefer the A move technique, just because I'm more used to it, and really I don't play Terran a huge amount anyway. I'll also show you a tiny bit later some applications for this when it comes to stalkers. Okay then, so if we go ahead and do what I've done in the previous videos, I'll just attack everything into each other, and we'll see how these 40 zerglings do against these 20 marines. So exactly the same value, exactly the same supply. And we can see the zerglings completely decimate the marines without micro. Okay, so let's try some stutter-step micro instead. I'll attack these into this, so I have a large region to kite. Okay, look at these guys attacking. The really important thing is basically that you don't let them get a surround on you. And you can see I have 13 units remaining, which is quite a good number considering that he had quite a few units remaining before when there was no micro involved. Really the big thing here is that they'll just get so little hits off on you compared to the amount that they would if they get a surround. And also when you're kiting back, you should be able to do about the same damage to them as you would if you were standing still, if you stutter step correctly. Now my stutter step isn't that good, however if you see someone like QXC playing or Bomber MMA, then you'll see their stutter step is absolutely insane, and they can get off just the same DPS moving as they can as if their marines were stood still. I think Thorzane is another really great example I've seen of this. Another application, of course, is killing the enemy probe. That's when you use stutter step micro to make sure that it can't escape from your base. Okay, so now I'm going to show you some stutter step micro using stalkers. I'm just going to spawn some different. Oh, by the way, this map is called Unit Tester Online. It's a really great map for practicing micro skills, and you can also do it multiplayer. So I'm just going to use my stalker. Okay, so we have a Stalker versus a Zealot. If we attack the Stalker into the Zealot, usually, we can see what happens. The Zealot wins by quite a margin. Okay, so we will reset this scenario. Not pause it, but reset it. And I will micro.
Very well.
Okay, so you see I'm using stutter-step micro, but it's much slower with a Stalker and a Zealot.
I serve for now. Veraku. Intriguing.
You can do it like this to make sure he gets no hits off, or you can do what Huck likes to do
We move unseen.
and do as much damage as possible, which also maximizes the efficiency of the trade. However, I actually prefer doing the micro so that they get no hits off at all, which involves a bit more running and a bit less shooting, but I prefer that style. Okay, so that that'll be it for this part of the tutorial. Now I'm going to be showing you some marine splitting against banelings. On the screen we can see that I have a big pack of marines, and the banelings just smash into them and basically completely dissolve them. There's not really much chance for our poor marines, even if we try kiting, like so, like the stutter-step micro. Oh god, no chance at all, and there's lots of banelings left over. So, we're going to be doing something called the split. I'm going to turn the sound on now. Essentially, the split is a lot about patrol moving. What I'll do is I'll select this big group, I'll patrol move them back, I'll select other groups, I'll patrol move them off of the original groups, and this will make all the marines spread out an awful lot. And it will allow, because of this spread, many marines to survive compared to the none that survived before. Okay, so patrol move away, split, 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 split. Just Q click, Q click, Q click. Or if you have patrol bound to P, then P click, P click, P click. However, I really do recommend, I'm going to turn the sound off again, I really do recommend binding patrol to Q through the options, or rather through the menu and then hotkeys, and you can do it from there. Okay, so that concludes this part of the tutorial. Just to recap, it is you select all of your marines, you'll Q click back over here, and then, or patrol click, and then you'll select some more and branch them off in a Y formation, and then select more and more and just branch them off to different areas. Okay, and that's pretty much the easiest way to split. Okay, thanks for watching. Okay, so for this part of the tutorial, or the demonstration at the very least, I hope you learned something though, is yeah, I'm just going to be talking a tiny bit about choke points, especially on the map Xel'Naga Caverns, which is very recognisable because of these two watchtowers, and also these ramps down into the low ground thirds, and the gold expansion is protected by rocks. So on Xel'Naga Caverns, I'm just going to show you a little bit about choke point engagement. It's not going to be a big point to labour on, it's just a bit of common sense. However, I got my friend to make this replay with me. Ignore completely what we're doing. We were just having some fun with a macro. I just told him to build up an army. We weren't actually playing a proper game. I just wanted to show off some choke point things, engagements, and didn't have any replays on hand. Anyway, on with the demonstration. Okay, so I'm just going to play. So at this point, his army funnels down into this really large, wide area, and these areas here are the key choke points. We can see that he's got a really large surface area over here, and if he was to make some sort of arc around either of these, with my army coming through, then he would have the advantage, as he would have much more surface area surrounding my ball of units. Okay, so really my engagement tactics are to try to draw him through this gap, or through this gap, although I seem to be going for this one here, and I'll pull him into this choke area here, where all my colossi can rain down death and destruction in this area here. Okay, so let's have a go at that. You can see, oh no, I'm not going to engage him there because he's got a big concave on me. I'm going to engage a bit, pull back, pull him into the right choke area, and then I can start to engage him. And this is really where the Protoss forces just absolutely dominate. And we can see here that I could, after that engagement, I could pretty much engage however I wanted, because he's got this tiny force and I've got this massive death ball with many colossi still. Okay, so I'll just show you how the rest of the engagement shapes out, and how I'm still looking to engage in him in a choke so that I get as good an engagement as possible, or across this area here, which is excellent for my colossi because of their extended thermal lance range. and also in this example he doesn't have Colossi. But really, this wasn't meant to be equal armies or anything. It was just meant to showcase engagement tactics and the way that I pull back through here. This is really, really key. I pulled back through this place so that I could get the concave on his units in here. Okay, and that's going to be it for this portion of the tutorial. In this portion of the video, I'm just going to be going over some force fielding tactics for early game versus Terran. So Protoss versus Terran is the matchup I'm talking about here, as you may have guessed from me saying force fields. So again on Xel'Naga Caverns, like the last portion of the tutorial, I'm going to be engaging him in a choke area. First of all, we're going to show what happens when this kind of sizable force meets with this Protoss force early on, and there are no force fields used, just so that we can compare this situation to the latter. Okay, so we can see he's going to come through here. I'm just going to activate Guardian Shield. I'm going to allow myself to be kited, and he's just going to kite all the way around this area here. Follow him. There we go. And he's doing a pretty good job of taking minimal damage with his Marauder forces and killing off my Zealots. And from this point he can easily kill my Sentries and my Stalker. Okay, so the purpose of that was just so that we can compare it to the situation I'm going to show you now. Okay, so last time we saw, last time we saw that his forces were able to kite my forces all, turn on my drawery thing, all around the back of here, and essentially keep on stutter-stepping my Zealots over here with these Marauders and Marines. Also he has concussive shells, which slows my Zealots down. However, this time the plan is, if I'll play this section, to bait him into attacking, and then when he's coming in a forward direction, I will cast force fields along here to trap a large portion of his army in front of these force fields. So we'll see that in action. Okay, so at this point I'm thinking I want force fields here, 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 that kind of line across there to cut him in half. Later game you probably want, when you have more ranged units and less Zealots, you might want to cast force fields differently. For example, if I had High Templar, then I would want to cast force fields around his units to trap them in a circle so that I can rain down to storms. However, for now we'll see me casting casting force fields in that kind of arc. Okay. So there we go. We've trapped the majority of his forces. He cannot kite back. I've casted Guardian Shield, so all is well in that way. You can see my arc pretty well fits with the force fields I casted, and we can see I cast some more force fields to trap more of his units. And at this point, oh gosh, I have essentially broken everything. And at this point, I have essentially fended off his attack successfully. And that is a job well done. There's no need to pursue it further than that, as I can just warp in more units at home to clean that up. So he retreats back home and everyone's happy. Alright, that's going to do it for this set of tutorial vids. I really do hope that you learnt something. My micro isn't perfect, far from it. However, I hope that I illustrated the concepts that I meant to properly. and it was clear. Okay, that's going to be all. Bye for now.